Welcome back to Rudy's 1/6 World and the next video in our What's Next series. And I thought it would be interesting to revisit the Predator franchise, particularly in light of the recent release of the prequel film on Hulu, Prey. Now, full disclosure, I had originally intended to do a follow-up video based on the DC franchises, but given the craziness and the wackiness that's happening with the DCEU, I tabled that for now.
Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
So before we jump into potential figures from the movie Prey, I think it's important to go back on a little historical retrospective and look at the early days of licensed Hot Toys figures. Now, nowadays we all see Marvel and Star Wars as the driving IPs keeping things going for Hot Toys, and I guess you can argue that Iron Man did turn Hot Toys into the powerhouse it is today. But I would actually argue that the actual rise began with the Predator license. Hot Toys really gave us a ton of figures from this movie series. We got the three main Predators and the Elder Predator from Aliens vs. Predator, and we also got 2-point versions of these. Then they tackled Predator 2, where we got the main Predator, the City Hunter, as well as the Elder Predator from the series, from the end, where he hands Danny Glover's character the old flintlock pistol, which, spoilers, if you haven't seen Prey, makes a reappearance here. Later on, they would also continue the Predator 2 series by giving us the Lost Hunters, which were all the characters that we saw at that end scene, also with Danny Glover. So a lot of those started becoming convention exclusives for a little bit. And of course, Hot Toys finally did go back to the original movie, and they gave us the original creature himself, who I think still holds up remarkably well. They also gave us the first human characters from the franchise, giving us Dutch, the Arnold character, which made sense, and Billy. Although the Billy figure, unfortunately, had a heavily camouflaged sculpt, as they had issues getting Sonny Landham's likeness rights. I'm still hoping that someone goes back and revisits the line and gives us the rest of Arnold's team from the movie. This seems to be right up, Damn Toys or somebody who focuses on military figures might be able to tackle this. Fingers crossed that does happen at some point. Now, going back to the movie series, you also got the Wolf Predator and a remake of that character from AVP Requiem. That movie itself, I'd like it more if it wasn't for the dreadful lighting during the movie that made it almost impossible to tell what was happening. And then finally, we got the three new Predators from the Predators movie by Robert Rodriguez. They were the other clan that was fighting with the classic Predator. So we got those three. We got a classic Predator, and here too, Hot Toys gave us the main character Royce, played by Adrian Brody, which I really think is an underrated figure. I really love that figure, and it has some presence to it. And then they gave us Nolan, who was played by Lawrence Fishburne. You can argue the figure wasn't that great, and similarly, maybe the character wasn't great in the movie, but it's nice that they gave us those. Now, the only Predator movie that Hot Toys did skip, even though they teased a figure at one of the conventions, was the Shane Black The Predator. Now, the movie clearly had its faults, and it was unpopular, and it wasn't a box office hit. So, as a result, the figure never made its way into production. Although I will be honest, as a Predator collector, I would have been interested in getting that character and maybe the Super Predator at the end as well. Now, I'll give you my personal ranking, at least of the top 3 Predator movies, after we look at the latest installment, Prey. So off the bat, I'll let you know that I really loved this movie. It had me on the edge of my seat and really felt like a return to form for the franchise. So I definitely think there's a chance we could get some figures from this for a few reasons. One, as we've seen, Hot Toys has a long history with the franchise, and with one exception, they've always given us figures from the movies. 2, this is technically a Disney movie, and with how tightly woven Hot Toys is with Disney IPs, I think there's a chance Prey could fall into that category. 3, the movie is getting a lot of buzz, and I do see critics loving it and fans loving it, so I could see Hot Toys trying to cash in a little bit. Now, reasons we might not get figures from the license, and I can really only think of one major one. After the way the Predator performed, and with Prey going direct to streaming, Hot Toys might not have even bothered looking at this, unfortunately. And while I'd like to say that the last one doesn't carry a lot of weight, realistically looking at how full Hot Toys' schedule is right now with almost 150 pre-orders, I think there's a very real possibility they might just not have the time to reconsider this if they missed the boat at the start. So I'm putting chances of figures at, let me be generous, maybe less than 40%. Having said that, if they do tackle this, I see the possibility for 2 figures, and you probably know which they are. So let's kick things off with number 1, the feral predator. Let's be honest, if we do get anything from the movie, this guy's it. And he would be a really interesting figure to sit on the Predator shelf. He has a lot of presence. He's very different from the figures we've gotten in the past, or the Predators we've gotten in the past. And then he could come with a ton of accessories, right? Removable helmet, the forearm shield, his gun, wrist blades. There are so many possibilities here for something. And then even if Hot Toys, which is doing the diorama base thing, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave us something killer to go with this. Maybe even a bear display. There's a possibility here. So I think this one would be the most likely if we get anything. The second, less likely, but again, if depending on how Hot Toys moves into the line, would be Naruto, which is the lead. Now, I know there's been some controversy about her ability to take on the Predator. Personally, I thought she was a badass in the movie. I liked that she used her intelligence, and she was pretty formidable in her own right, and she used those abilities to outsmart the Predator. And it was very reminiscent of how Dutch beat the Predator in the original, realizing that he had all the weaponry, he had all his strength, and at the end it was useless. He couldn't beat the Predator in a straight up fight. He needed to outsmart him. So I think that was a nice callback to that movie. I thought she was amazing, and her final fight scene was great. Now, if Hot Toys were to make her, the one accessory I would hope she would come with would be her dog. That dog in the movie was so well trained, and it was such a great companion for her. Such a great part of the movie. I'd want to display her with the dog, right? And I think a lot of people probably feel the same way. And of course, she would have to come with the flintlock. That's so important. So if we get anything, those would be the 2 that I think would make for likely 1/6 scale candidates. And I do think they would come from Hot Toys. To date, no one else has tackled the Predator license. Even third-party companies have actually stayed away. I don't know if it's maybe because the franchise just doesn't have any legs left to it. I was always hoping some company would give us the rest of Dutch's unit from the movie, since they were all such memorable characters, and some of these military figure producers might be able to do them, but they haven't. So I think the ball is definitely in Hot Toys' court, and I do hope they decide to take a chance. They've been doing some surprising things, and look, they've been revisiting some classic figures. RoboCop, did anyone expect them to go back to that one? Maybe that'll be a sign, and the success and popularity of that will be a sign for them to revisit some of these. And given how good the movie is, it would be a shame not to consider it for the 6 scale treatment. Now, finally, I did promise you my ranking of the movie, so before we end, I'll give you my top 3. Number 1, original still remains the best for me. There's a lot of nostalgia with that movie, and it's Arnold, right? I think it's one of Arnold's top movies. Number 2, Prey. I think this movie felt like a true successor to the original. I love Naru, and I love the intensity with the scenes with the Predator. And 3, and this might be a little controversial, but I actually really liked Predators with Adrian Brody. I think it had a really interesting change of pace, and I liked the Berserker and the introduction of a rival clan. So that would wrap up my top 3 in the Predator universe. So, would you be interested in getting any figures from this movie? And what did you think of Prey? Do you think there's any life left in this franchise? Let me know your thoughts. And if you're enjoying the content and feel so inclined, please like, comment, and subscribe. I always look forward to talking to my fellow collectors. With that, have a good one, and we'll touch base on the next video.